Hi everyone, I'm Rincey and this is Rincey Reads. Today I'm going to be doing my June wrap up. June was kind of a crazy month for me personally, but I was able to get a pretty decent amount of videos up. I didn't do quite as much reading. There's probably some correlation there in terms of the more videos I put up the less time I have to read, but you know, I'm still happy with what happened this month. So in terms of the videos that I put up this month, I put up a bunch of reviews, which I was very happy about because I kind of have missed reviewing over the past couple of months since I've been so busy. So I did a review of Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi. As you have heard me talk about multiple times, I love this book. It's the best book I've read so far this year. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Lots of other people seem to be picking it up as well and absolutely loving it. So if you haven't picked up the book yet, you need to do it. It's so good. You can go watch my review if you don't believe me yet, but it's fantastic. The other reviews I put up were for Sleeping Giants by Sylvian Nuevo, which I didn't really like that much. Actually, I had mixed feelings about it. Again, you can go watch my review for more information about that. And then the last one that I put up was for The Secret Place by Tana, which I read back in May, and I said I wanted to do a review on it because I wanted to talk about it. So that is up on my channel now. I absolutely love that book and I talked about why I love it, even though it's like really weird and completely different from all of Tana French's other books. I don't want to say weird like it's bad, but weird as in it's not normal. Like this is definitely different from her other books, but I still really enjoyed it, and again I talked about why in that review. Besides those reviews, I put up 2 other videos. The first one was the Book of the Month unboxing video. If you haven't checked that out already, you're more than welcome to. Book of the Month is a monthly book subscription service, and I showed off all of their June selections, and there's also a coupon code in there. So if you're interested in Book of the Month, you can get 30% off the 3-month subscription plan. So if you've been wanting to check out Book of the Month and you haven't yet, there's a little coupon code for you guys to use. And the other thing that I did was the Independent Book Week tag, and that was just like a fun little tag to do for Independent Bookseller Week, even though I don't live in the United Kingdom, but still, it's great questions. So in terms of things that I finished this month, I finished 4 books or 4 stories, depending on how you want to look at it, because the first one that I finished was Binti by Nnedi Okorafor. This is a novella that she released, and I had been hearing really good things about this novella, and I liked it, but I didn't love it. I think I just wanted more from it. She's writing more like parts to the story. There's going to be at least 2 more parts to this, so I will be picking those up because I did find the story interesting, but I felt like there was so much missing from the story and I just wasn't fully satisfied by it. So I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I still really enjoy Nnedi Okorafor's writing. She explores some really interesting themes, and I really just think I need this to be a longer story, so hopefully as I pick up more of these parts, I'll enjoy it more and more. The next thing that I finished was The Crossover by Kwame Alexander. This I listened to on audiobook and I loved it. It's probably the best thing I read this month. That's not true, but it's one of the best things I read this month. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. This is a young adult book that is written in verse. I have been meaning to pick this book up for a really long time, so I decided to listen to it in an audiobook, and it was fantastic. It actually inspired me to make a book ride video about listening to books on verse because it is just so like lyrical and musical, and it made it so much more enjoyable. As someone who doesn't listen to a lot of audiobooks and as someone who is super picky when it comes to audiobooks, I felt like this was just such a great experience, and I cannot recommend this book enough to you guys, and I cannot recommend like listening to it enough to you guys. If you haven't heard of it, this is a young adult story that follows these 2 twin boys who are just really good at basketball. Their father was a really great basketball player as well, and so you're just following them as they're growing up. I believe they're about 12 years old in the story. You're mainly following this from one of the twins' perspectives, and it's about them like sort of growing up and becoming their own person and just the different things that come with like growing up as a teenager and all of this stuff. It's just really well done. I was very surprised by it, even though I had heard really great things about it in general. The next thing that I finished was In the Country by Mia Elvira. This is a collection of short stories that follows a bunch of different Filipino people as they leave the Philippines and emigrate to different parts of the world, specifically the United States as well as the Middle East. I really like this. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. It's a strong collection. What I like about this is that there's only about 8 or 9 short stories in here, and it's a pretty decent sized book, so you get to go a little bit deeper into every story. But I did also feel like the way I do with a lot of short stories that I either wanted them to be more satisfying or to be longer and to be fleshed out more. This is just like a general issue I have with a lot of short story collections, but I still really enjoyed this one. I think Mia Elvira is a really fantastic writer. Her stories are so descriptive. I could completely picture everything that was happening in these stories. I really, really enjoyed it. I also like the fact that it follows Filipino people. I had no idea that there was a large Filipino population in the Middle East prior to picking up this book, so that's something that I learned. So yeah, Mia Elvira is definitely going to be an author I'm keeping my eye on because I really enjoyed this short story collection. I liked it, but I think it, especially for like a first book out, it definitely shows that there's room to grow as well, so I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on this author. And the final thing that I finished this month was Enchanted Islands by Allison. This is one of the books that I got through the Book of the Month subscription, and I had seen Max from Well Done Books read it and really enjoyed it, so I decided to pick it up as well, and I thoroughly enjoyed it as well. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I'm actually going to be doing a full review on this book, so I'm not going to talk about it too much here. But this was like such a delightful surprise. I think also because I've been a little bit like disappointed with some of the books that I've been reading lately. I've been picking up and putting down a lot of books lately. It feels like a lot of the stories that I've been going into lately are either like short stories, novellas, or they're like told from multiple perspectives, so it feels like I can't like dig my teeth into the story. And so I felt like this book just was a breath of fresh air for me because it was just a single narrative from a single point of view, and I could just like dive into the story. The writing in here is beautiful. This is a historical fiction novel, and you are following this woman named Frances. She's born around like 1885. When you first start the story, she is in her 80s, and she decides that she wants to basically write down the story of her life. It's based on an actual person who wrote memoirs about her life and about the things that she did during World War II. And the way that this like book is summarized, like on the dust jacket, makes it sound like that it's a spy novel, but it's really about like more female friendships and just growing up in the United States during this time period and like in the period before World War II. It's just so well done. Again, I could talk about this for like 10 minutes alone, so I made my own review video. That'll be up next week, either on Monday if I am feeling really productive this weekend, or on Friday, so you guys can look forward to that. But again, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend it, especially if you're someone who likes character-driven stories, historical fiction, especially if you're someone who likes World War II historical fiction. Even though the war is a part of the story, it's not like the largest part of the story. So if you're someone who doesn't like World War II fiction, usually I avoid it, but this one was just so well done that it was hard not to enjoy it. In terms of what I'm currently reading, I'm still making my way through the Alexander Hamilton biography. I've passed the 200-page mark. Very excited about that fact. I've made a schedule for myself, so I'm reading about like 10 pages a day, which is like perfect for me. Sometimes I read a little bit more, sometimes I read a little bit less, but I've been sticking to that pretty solidly, so I'll be done with this book by the end of August. I'm also listening to the audiobook of Gabby, A Girl in Pieces, which I'm enjoying, but this is another book that's like written not in a straight narrative, it's written in diary form, which actually works kind of well because I'm listening to it on audiobook, so it makes it easy to like find places to pause. I basically just pause at the end of every like diary day. I kind of am just looking for a book that's like a straight narrative. Like I need to find a book like that on my TBR. I know there's one that exists in here, so I just need to pull that one out. And speaking along those lines, I believe that I mentioned on here that I was reading The Heavenly Table by Donna Pollock. I've only gotten to like the 50-page mark because this is a book that's written in dual narratives, and the chapters in here are so short, like literally 3 to 5 pages at most. And so it feels like I'm going crazy because every time I feel like I'm getting my bearings in a story or in one of the perspectives, it switches. And so I feel like I'm getting whiplash from this book. So I think I'm going to put it down for a little bit and come back to it. So yeah, that is just a brief overview of my June. If you have any questions about any of the books that I talked about or any of the videos that I made, feel free to leave that down in the comments below. Or feel free to leave a comment down below letting me know what your favorite read was in the month of June. So yeah, that's all I have for now, and thanks for watching.